Turn around. Hello. So. I've had this idea in my mind for a while. There's a few new creators popping up, maybe some that never created before. So I was gonna do a little, or try to give an example of how to start a creative process. And there's like loads of ways that you can get inspired to create something. You just have to dive into it. As long as you have an idea, it's easy. Just go into it. But you can also just go into it and look for an idea. That's what we're gonna do. So for a race, I'll start with the races. You can keep it as simple as you want. So you just, if you take 2 straights and 2 corners, you have an oval. So then it comes down to what kind of track you have in mind. Or if you just want to do a land race on the normal map, follow the normal roads, you just have to put checkpoints down. Don't even have to put props down. The props just detail it more, give it more aesthetics. They can transform certain locations too, like you can make new cities and shit. You can also make a new city or a new like monument, like the Eiffel Tower or something, and then just create a race around that. So it all depends on what your aim is. I have races that are just oriented around a certain building that I created. So then the race is actually a secondary goal or target that you have when you're creating it. You get air races, which are pretty boring, but you can do some funny shit with letting them fly through specific objects or things like that. If I think about that, I immediately get the idea that I had earlier, but where you place, of course, where you have your plane. I don't know if I can call it up right away. Place panel first. I'll make it blue because if it's red, it really pops and you don't see the lines on it. See, because it reflects so hard. So the blue, you see the lines better. It's even better with gray or black. So I can't. I want to see the plane, so I don't even need the panel here. So okay. Now we get the planes. I can go and look what you can restrict it to. I think you also have helicopters and shit, yeah. So let's look at the planes. If I take one of the biggest ones here. Oh. Oh, I was in the choppers. Miljet. Okay. So flying races are really boring because there's nothing in the air to get stopped by, unless you hit each other and shit like that. That could be funny. You can make a catch-up race where there's no rules and you can just hit each other. But problem is with fly races, if you have to respawn, you're like miles away behind the one in front. So you kind of need to figure out something for first place to get interrupted or slowed down. Catch-up doesn't always do the trick. What I was aiming at here is, so if you make, instead of using the big gates here, which are quite boring too, because it's so easy. So imagine you want to make it more difficult. Put the override on so it overrides on the objects. So what you can do is create like checkpoint panels that have the shape of the plane, like a cartoon when it flies through it. That you have to follow the shape, and if you don't get perfectly right, then you won't make it. I'll take the wheels along with it for the gap. You don't have to make it like too perfect, because then it's becomes impossible to do. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating the checkpoint panel, which would be a template, and then I can use the template to place it on the route I want everybody to go to. And this is a tricky one, so I want that tail to fly through, so you're gonna have a separate template to fix that. So you're gonna look at the shape here, find where the cross is at. Now you can just add some panels. I could use that standing straight. Change the color up, see the contrast better. And I just try to get this, I can use it too here. I'm just doing it very roughly now because I'm just giving some examples for how to spark creativity and shit. This is something I'd always wanted to work out, but then you have to, I would have to really do it perfectly. And so there's a tail. Do something like this. I'm gonna use a tree. Oh, that's too wide. So probably have to use 2 of those. So normally would go and override, and then you can match it right in there. So you have your axles. It's always neater to have it perfectly lined up. It's a lot of jumping around with the cursors here if you want to keep objects in their position and stuff like that. Once you get the hang of it, it's just becomes an automatism. So I have to look at the left side of the body of the plane here. Something like that. Put that in. I would override every prop here just to get the angles exactly perfect. But that's just me. So now I got the upper part here. So make a template out of that one. Shit, I forgot to save the job because that might cause troubles. I don't know how long it will let me. Doesn't matter, I'm just showing the concept here. But templates often cause troubles if you haven't saved on time. Makes it too hard for the game to follow up. Okay, I think I have this one. What's happening? Wasn't working correct. Second prop you select should always be close enough to the original first prop. The original first prop of a template is always important, as that will orient and decide your axles of rotation when you use the template. So I'll save it now. So we get that. Then you just need the bottom part. See, it's always struggling if you have the template selected to get it. Why is it not going on the prop here? Always dangerous when you're erasing things and you don't want other things to get erased, so watch out for that. So I got the template here. That fits nicely. So override all. Why is it not overriding? Stacking. Why is it not stacking here? That's weird. So anyway, that would be the tail. Oh, Jesus Christ. It just does that. It's like a weird glitch with the template. So you can't up and down it easy. But you get the concept I was trying to put down here. Jesus, it's working against me now. Come on! Ah, suck it. Madre mia. But just give me the prop, jongen. So there you get your wing gap. And then you just finish it. It's overriding on the prop while it doesn't have to do that. That's weird. Look, away. Oh my Leon, I'm not even oh. It's just supposed to select the prop I'm on now, like this. God fucking damn it, you know, what the fuck is wrong with this thing? If I put stacking on, then it's good. Look, it stays on that. Yeah, you can turn it around. It should not do that shit. God damn it. Incredible fucking shit, you know. What the fuck? I have to stop broadcasting if this keeps happening here. You know, what is this? It's just because I'm not saving the shit or something. Incredible. 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 And that it does erase. Incredible. A little shit like that really pisses you off. It's always worked. Okay, that's really rough, but you get the concept, so Ale. Let me pick up this fucking prop, jongen! Jesus, manneke. Niet tegen Lube. So what you do? Create a new template. And put all of that shit on. Of course, I would make it nice and pretty. If you want to make it really hard, you make it all black and do a night race. That's not the right template. Yes, it is. This has not even half of the props, but now you can make those checkpoints. You put your templates around, and then you go fill in your aerial checkpoints, or probably you do the other way around. Would be conflicting with the spawning. If you respawn, you have to make sure, because I would say the left plane spawns, but it's mostly the middle, so you spawn in the middle if you take a respawn. So that's where your gap should be. I might like opt for something like that, so you can aim your plane, your rear plane that is in the middle. You can aim that in your gap when you before you place it, because it disappears. Now if someone respawns, he respawns after the object, so of course the template is a real quick thing, because you would probably have to enlarge the whole surface, like do something more like this, so it becomes impossible to fly around. Just fill up the rest of it. I think bigger is even better. The bigger the panels, the longer your detour is if you want to fly around. But imagine all of those spread over the map and you just have that little gap to fly through with your plane. And that would be a concept, and that would be a race. And then that's all to it. If you can finish that, you don't have to add any other things, tubes, nothing like that. Just keep a clean concept. People have to fly through the gap that is formed like a plane. And then you can use that, of course, for choppers all different size vehicles. You can use it also for land vehicles, of course. No save. So if you're into the race creating, you can create something dependent on the vehicle, like we just did. Like I say, you can also do it for land races. If you say I want to make a race with a different vehicle than there is in the selection, and I have to go transform. Then you get your extra list of vehicles that you can use, except outside from the normal list. This is the normal list. There's some fun vehicles in that too. But if you go to the transform list, then you have your normal ones too, of course, but you have your foot, you have your boats, jets, planes, funny vans. You can glitch the normal vans in a normal track too, but got your industrial shit. Like a dump is always a funny vehicle. So you'd say you can use cop cars, tanks, you can use anything as long as it's in the transform list. So go for all the dump. So you can add a lot of more transform vehicles, but let's just say you want to make a race with one specific funny vehicle. So now you get your vehicle, and then you need to decide what the vehicle is gonna do. You can make anything on the map, of course. That would be very easy. And that's the advantage. If you take a funny vehicle, you want to make a funny race, you want to make something that's not like serious racing at all. So picking your funny vehicle already makes it a funny race. Now you can still create a boring route or a boring track for the dumps to follow. Like if it would be like a circle, for example, that would be very bad for any race actually, because a circle doesn't give you slipstream, it doesn't give you the straights from an oval. That's why an oval is an oval and not a circle, because the straights give you the overtaking possibilities. So the circle is really the worst kind of racing thing. Even if you're serious racing, you want to have people have a lot of battles and a lot of competition, you know, even if you want crashes. I have a few circle jobs, and if they all go the same direction and nothing obstructs them, then they will all remain in the same position at all times. So that's something you have to avoid as a creator, especially when you want to make something funny. You want the field of participants to be close together as much as possible, so a lot of shit can happen. You know, even not only just contact and crashes, but even like transforms, and then when like 7 people are in the same transform point, there's like one truck that just pops up into the air because the game can't handle it. It's just unpredictable shit like that is gonna make it like crazy and insane and hilarious. So okay, we were at the choice. We have our dump truck. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna have to need a vehicle to start with. Because if your transform race doesn't have a basic vehicle, then you won't be able to publish it. So you will also have to decide what your starting vehicle will be. Now, If you make your starter vehicle like any car, you know, you can select the list here. You can also deselect all the other ones and just make it a bicycle, for example. And a bicycle is very handy if you need like a small star grid. So you can place a small star grid as much as anywhere, you know. You can also glitch it into a bigger star grid, but that's not the point here. So what the point is that you have your first vehicle now. If you want to make your next checkpoint a transform point, which would be the dump truck, of course. And if you place it as close as you can to the star grid, then the rest of your race is going to be in the dump truck. So all the game needs is that little bit here that you drive with the original vehicle. And then it can be validated. Now if you make a point-to-point, you can just place other checkpoints as much as you want and call it a race. That's my point-to-point, finishes here. But if you want to make it a lap race, I think you have to... let's make sure, I don't know. It's gotta be 6.3 miles long, 0.63 I think. So that would be good. What I'm thinking is that normally you might have to make this a transform. And it goes back to your lobby vehicle. I don't know if it does it automatically, but so if you have laps, your vehicle has to transform back to the normal vehicle to then be transformed again to the dump. Now, if you use a car or something motorized, the transition goes quicker, of course. So that's what I'm pointing out, that if you use the bicycles, you can use the small grid. So if I say I want to use a motorized vehicle, you have to change it to a bigger star grid first. So now I go back, select another vehicle that I want. Off-road, for example. Could be one, could be all of them. If you take all of them, it's kind of useless because most people will just pick the fastest one. So opting for a specific one or a specific few vehicles would always like give it more character in any job that you make, even if it's a serious race. So Zaba would be very funny, but that would be not fast. My point would be a fast transition here. So I can erase the cycle, so my other starting vehicle will be the drugger. So if you come here, you make your one lap, you transform back into the drugger. Of course the start grid will be here. Then the transition will be a lot quicker than if you use the bike, of course. So this is what I use when we do the truck racing, in which I just copy a track that already exists. I just copy the creation. Then you can change your race type. So this is now transform. You can change it back into any of those, but some props might change. There's some limitations in props for all different setups, so watch out with that. But the point being, I made semi-truck races on the normal tracks I made. So I copied the normal track, transformed it into a transform race and the types, and then I could use the trucks that I want for racing, and I just placed the transform point right after the star grid, and all the other checkpoints I could just leave, and they would be transformed into just semi-truck checkpoints until you reach the finish and you respawn in the... I would pick the dune because it's also a truck, and then it would respawn back into the semi-trucks and you get your truck race. So this would be the same, only it would be a dump race, and we can just show you that quickly. You just drive 0.5 seconds on this one, do all the rest in the dump truck. Objects that stop you also stops first, and then the rest can catch up. That's already good. Having some people to run over is also fine. I have to publish this race. So good. Okay, point made. So what will be important is that you try to envision your creation as much as you can in advance, and that will ease your creating. Now, if you're new to the whole thing, it's important that you do it the other way around, so you take a look at what is available, and then you can be inspired. And even if you're creating one thing, you can get inspirations to make another thing. Just make a note of it, or just save the one thing and just dive into the next thing. Important tip is also never rush your creation, because if you rush it, you tend to just not take care of the details and just work too quickly. And that goes for all the things that you create, no matter if it's funny shit or just a King of the Hill or deathmatch, or you can put 6 grenades on the street and call it a deathmatch. Easy. How fun will it be, and how different will it be from all the other deathmatches that are out there, which is bazillions. So this would be the dump truck thing, but you can also... Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about the location of your dump truck race. So to get an open example location, I just took the beach here. But you can make a dump truck race in the mountains, which would be a lot harder. You can make it the downhill race from Chiliad. You can make it a hill climb. You can make it a city race. You can make it a highway race. Highway race is good for catch-up races, so you get a lot of room where people can overtake easy. And then you have a lot of competition, a lot of fighting. You just have to put catch-up on. Especially with slower vehicles like the dump truck, it will just be a bunch of trucks hauling over the highway. And it doesn't even have to be long. You don't have to go around the whole map. Just take one checkpoint and place another checkpoint on the other side and call it a race. As long as you get funny vehicles, some obstacles to slow the first people down, it'll be a funny race. If you just... Like I imagine it already right now. You start here in front of the tunnel, go to the tunnel, take the highway here. Just go to the thing here and just put a bit of finish here. Let traffic ride and then move your dump trucks through traffic. Can be hilarious. Of course, there's a lot of other hilarious vehicles. And oh yeah, I was gonna have to check the transform list. So you can add, like, I don't know what the maximum is, 10 or something, but the more different vehicles you add, the less characteristic your creation will be. So like if I add a muscle car and I add like a motocross bike, they're totally unrelated. And if there's no reason for the motocross bike to be there, like it has to just drive us apart on the street or something, then it will be non-functional as a choice. So if you have dirt track that you have to do a dirt section with jumps or something, then your dirt motorbike will be legit, and it will be a how you say it, a responsibly chosen vehicle, because it has a function that is related to its own function. Now, doing the opposite also creates like a contradicting fun fact. So instead of taking the dump truck on some sand and you put it in the city, that creates a contrast, because the dump truck is not built to drive in the city. So contrast can be good if it's used in the correct way, like using planes on tarmac on the floor. So you make a transform point and you just have a plane that has to do an amount of distance driving on the floor instead of flying, and you just cover the whole thing up with panels so it can't fly. And that's creating contrast in the choices you make, in the setups you make, in the concepts you make. And it's contrasts that create action, If everybody's in peace, then everybody's just in peace. If one guy's fighting, then there's conflict, and there's action, then there's movement and change and evolution. So transform vehicle is dilettante, yeah, that's a funny one. So you can make a foot race. So I have a lot of races that are just created by getting ideas from looking at this list of vehicles. So I just cycle through the whole list, Of course, if you go fans, you gotta think the clown van, of course, you just surfer is super slow, so you can do great catch-up races with this ultra slow car. Your camper is indestructible. It can get hit by windmills like 100 times. It's a great crash vehicle. Your taco van's really loggy, blocky, funny vehicles. Great for catch-up races. Your mule's very slow. Also important if you want to have a funny race, instead of a competitive race, you want the good driver to be able to perform better and to get a better result. And with a funny race, you want the whole field to have a chance at the win at every moment of the race, and the more moments that happens, the more exciting it will be for all participants because they all have a chance to win at all times. And that's what makes it fun for the participants and for the viewer, because you have a lot more crashes and fights and shit like that. You got your extra, like Ripley. You can get the Ripley in the normal vehicle list. I have to get back to my transform point there. Just show the Ripley. Can just change the vehicle here. That's the Ripley. Also very funny vehicle. Because the tires are gigantic and the turning is really bad. So again, if you know the turning is really bad, you can make the contrast and make like a really curvy track. And then you create the contrast between the non-turning ability of the Ripley and the curvatures of the creation, and that would make it funny. Let's check some other vehicles out. So again, just looking, browsing through the list, even if it's normal list from normal cars, you can get ideas. The Boar. Here the Power Surge, also funny vehicle. It can make a lot of like hit an obstacle and jump over a building kind of things, or as long as it has to do with speed or jumps. Power Surge, hilarious. Electric bike. Rampant Rocket, also hilarious bike. Especially if you do fun races and you have a field that sticks together. Because this bike, if you just as little as just touch someone, it will just fly up into the air and just do a few backflips. It's really hilarious. The Rampant Rocket. So you get the naked tires. If the front wheel of the bike hits a rear wheel of someone else in front of them, it'll just launch up into the air. So it creates a really funny situations. So let's say that you have a Rampant Rocket race, and you know that you want to have the field as close together as you can. So what you want is you want to lock off your track or the route that they have to follow. So the more narrower you make a route, the closer the field has to stay together. Yeah. So you can also use just a normal map. So if you just use even the highway, people have to stay in between the lines here just to stay on the track. You can make custom track. You can just make a sky track. Sky tracks are of course the most easy to make, as there's no limits, no borders, no objects to take into account. You can also just let's just not flip that on here. See, very easy with the magnetics. You can also just flip it around, and then your tracks becomes a little bit wider. You can still use the magnetics to create your the path you want them to follow. Got a lot of P2Ps there, just form like this. And you can even make it, make your whole like track that you want to do, or just a point to point. You can go up, down, that doesn't matter. You can even lock it off and create the surroundings of the whole thing. So you create your own nature, your own walls. Then it comes down to color use and stuff like that. So you see now I'm kind of simulating some green mountains. Then you can find out that like what I'm doing here. If you want to really make it pretty, there's some tricks with how you use the props and the angles of the curvature of the prop, like here. Just trying to get it on the lines that using that roll here now to find the angle. There we go. See, now it follows this blue line here perfectly. So I just used the angle of this prop to get the angle of the radius of this band there. So you have a 45, 30, and 15, so you can try to get the same effect with different angle props. See? So I can just get this even closer, but then it will go up. So there you go. See, it's pretty close. So now I got two different angle props that exactly do the same thing that I wanted, which is follow the radius of the corner here. So if you do this for all the corners, you get a really beautiful canyon-like traject. You can also just use these flat and just create your corners like that. Of course, I'm already also in the 3D modus. So you do something like that. Again, if you want to play some really perfect, you go into the override. And you can move it where you want. I have a few videos that explain the override functions thoroughly. So you can keep it in the same angle as the blue prop, then it will create like a grass kind of structure, which is also a curb kind of thing here. So there's a lot of props that just can be used as inside or outside for another prop. So this obviously has a different angle than this prop, but they complement each other if you place them in the same circle, let's say. So this would just make a smaller circle. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can do with that. And again, most of the success that you will have at the creation comes down to what you do and how you put it down. Strawberry. So put my dump truck race on that bit, be hilarious. Of course, the better your finishes, the better the aesthetic result will be. So it's in the small details, you know. You hook this on magnetically. If you do this, then it's not a straight, then it's not a smooth transition. See, you have that little bump here now. And for the dragger, it's no problem. But if you have other vehicles, it won't be a problem either. But the bigger the angle is, the bigger the problem becomes, of course. So that's the transition thing is important if you're working with elevation, because of course if you're not working with elevation, the creation becomes a lot easier. So you just have your hook, and your track is finished. See, so you don't need any extra props to get it perfectly straight or nothing. It does that purely automatically. It will just be boring because it's flat, there's no elevation. It's good for a fun race, not the circle, but you get my point. So having transitions is pretty important. Like for a funny race, it's not that important as for a serious race. Like if I come here, I have to do that angle, it's no problem with the dragger. Again, if you take a compact car, it might bounce into a wall when you come over here. So it depends on the car selection, on how perfect your transitions have to be. If you do a serious racetrack and you come here with your Formula 1 or your supercar, your sports car, and you meet this, that's a deadly impact. So you cannot have that shit. So if you have a serious racetrack, the smoothness actually decides how fun and how easy it will be to drive. And I'm not talking about easy in way of cornering and shit like that, but just easy in the surface being easy to drive. Like, of course, if you do something like this, I mean, that's not a GT3 race, that's not gonna happen, because cars can jump here and shit, so your transitions have to be smooth, so you can use a few extra props to get your transitions, you can have easy overrides like this. That's a quick fix. If you want to make it perfect, you gotta go manual override, place it perfect so your white lines line up and all that. So what you can do also is use the cornered bits to actually get that little bit of cornering in already. Make it a different color so you're seeing what you're doing. So you get something like that. And you can go manual override, you can get it easier. See, there the lines already match up. And then your transition is a lot smoother than it was, but just having one prop connected to the other one. You can also use the original prop here to keep the same radius in the transition. I'm gonna make it black so you see it. So what's gonna happen is the other side is gonna have to come up, and this side has to come down. So then you take your axles. In the world axis, you have to just know which axle does what. If you want to see the arrows, you go to local, and then you see the arrows. The problem with the local thing is you have to switch it back to world, otherwise your props will not act the same after you did this. So I'm gonna explain that right now if I give this example here. So what I was saying is it has to come up on the other end and it has to go down here. So I'm leveling it with the blue one, so it's now at the same level here. Preferably below so you can see it pop up now. Yeah, you go and look for the axle that you want. So I want the other side to pop up, so this is the axle. That one will do something else. So I'm gonna lift it up here. So doesn't have to be a lot. It's just a little bit here. perfect. I'm holding, this is just moving with the D-pad left and right. So if I'm going into perfect, fine adjust. Fine adjust, hold Y. Why does it say that? Is that the camera? That's the quick adjust. Why does it say fine adjust? So if you want to adjust quicker, this holding the Y button. This is normal speed, this is Y button speed. It should say quick adjust. Now it says the same. Fine adjust and fine adjust with hold X. So if you hold X while you're rotating your panel, it goes a lot slower and a lot more detailed. So again, that will come like an automatism once you get the hang of it. So I'm creating the transition between the blue and the yellow panel. So and here I used the yellow panel to create the transition between the blue and the white. And here I used the 30-degree panel. And here I used the black as the same panel as the blue. Just to give an example on how the override can be done with different props, different angled corner props. So again, the more intricate you want to make it, the more own creation you want to make it, the more custom props you're going to use to get that experience. Again, it's not necessary at all to have a fun race that's actually hilarious, and like you can have a funny race that has no props at all and be a lot funnier than a race that has 300 props but isn't constructed or thought out correctly or well enough. Also, a tip what I would definitely advise is keep your concept as clean as possible. And I think I mentioned this a lot of times before, is that if you want to make a dump truck race, do a dump truck race. Don't add like a plane or a tube where you have to dive in with a boat or shit like that. Just keep your concepts clean, and the cleaner your concept is, the easier it is for the experiencer participant to get that concept and to enjoy that concept. And that's what, like, just overall generally created stunt races don't have. They just pile up every single possibility and option you have in the creator, and you go from your quad that goes in the water, and then it turns into a plane, and there's a checkpoint in the sky, and then you fall and you turn into a car and you have to drive on some dirt, and it's a fucking boring crap. A fucking piece of that's because it's a mix mash of just all different concepts that are, none of them are worked out to the best detail, and they're all just generally and randomly used for just random events and locations and actions, and then there's no spice to it. There's no inspiration, no creativity. There's nothing behind it. It's just showing how you can magnetically attach props to each other. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of creations that kind of have that thing, but they still have something very specific that is in it that will make it unique. a good example is like the Kerplunk series I made, which is a funny thing based upon a real game that exists in real life. So you have your tube with and then the players have to put all different where am I? The players of the game have to put all different sticks into the tube like this, and then when it's all filled with sticks, you get this kind of interrupting field. Oh shit! In the middle of the tube, and then you have to throw a bunch of marbles in it, and then none of them can fall, so it's all blocked, and the marbles are stacked upon the thing here. Then each player has to pull out a stick, and if the ball falls, it will like result in your little corner. Every player has his corner, so you have to turn the tube, and when it's your turn, so the gap of the marbles is in your square. So when you pull the sticks out and the marbles fall down, they will end up in your square, and you get like bad points, you know. So that's actually the setup of the real game in real life, and somebody made a recreation of it in GTA, which got pointed out to me by a crew member, and I loved it. Thank him for it, because it's a great idea, great concept. Now the only problem with the creation he made was that he made it kind of I don't know if there's like a name for it. It's like a game show kind of thing, where you have to get a ball through an obstacle course that's like vertically placed. So you get something like this. I think it was something like that. So you have your drop thing. Everybody has seen those games, you know. You also have the water games where you pump the objects up and then they sink in the water and they hit things like this on the way. So he would have a race, and for example, you come out of this tube, and or I don't think it was like that, but come out here, you drop into this, and then you ding, 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 like down. And he called it like a kerplunk thing. And that's not kerplunk. This is kerplunk. So you stick your sticks through it, and you put marbles in, and they fall down. That's kerplunk. That's not kerplunk. But he gave me the idea of making the actual kerplunk, which is with the tube. And so you see, you can still make something that, like, if this would have been like a job where you spawn here and players drop in and they tuk and finish, and then whoever's first is lucky. That would be amazing. That would be great. That would be super, and that would be a very clean concept. Now the problem is with that particular job is that the creator in question, he added some other shit, like just normal tracks. So you have here, I'm not sure anymore how it was, but there was a track and some stunt pieces and some narrowing things or something. I don't know. A little bit this, a little bit that, yeah. Napoli. So I added a little track because probably the race is too short. If you put a checkpoint here and checkpoint there, 0.5 miles, you can't publish it because you need 0.63 miles. Now you could have made that wall bigger that you came to 0.3 miles. That would be a solution. You have a clean concept. No, he went for the easy way. Made the start point something else, and they said, "Oh, I need that extra mile." So here's a start location, do the whole mile, and then you come to the actual thing that you were trying to create. So why do you add the whole thing there? It will just destroy your concept. It will just add nothing to what's already a clean concept right here. So what did I do? I just said, okay, let's make the perfect Kaplank. So, and you know, extremist as I am, looking for extremes in always both locations, good and bad. Still a bit in my coffee, damn it. So I went to work on the Kaplank job. So I took a good look at the game, try to get some memories back, see how it worked in real life. So I made a tube. What do? You make a tube. You make it as high as you can, of course. Get to the extremes. Now they did lower the ceiling of the game, so it's not possible anymore to go that high. As you see, it's still pretty high. It's higher than I expected myself, actually. Cause see, now I'm on the limit of the sky, so I cannot attach the next tube onto the top of this tube because the sky is just limiting right there. So, and it's not limiting on the top, it's limiting on your axle location, so that's right in the middle of the prop. So I can go for the maximum and just put it over here, you know, that's probably something like that. But I had to have a panel here, so the moment of the game that I created was the moment that the marbles get dropped into the pipe. So not the moment that the marbles are already in the pipe, which is actually the starting thing of the actual game in real life, but the dropping of the marbles, and so there wouldn't be players at the bottom, because the players would be the marbles itself. So the idea was to put the tube up and to fill it with the sticks, as I demonstrated on the bottom part. So what you get, you place like 10 props or something for your tube and your starting platform, and then you have 380 something props left to make sticks and stick them through the tube, and that's what I did. And then you get like a whole maze from top to bottom, all filled with like 300 sticks, and then you just have to drop through it, being a marble, and whoever finished first at the bottom wins the race. And that's as close as I could get to the actual Kerplunk game, and it turned out to be a super hilarious race. And I copied it, and I'm still copying it and keep adding different vehicles that have to fall through the tube. So the first thing I did was create it, and I made it a normal race, because then you don't have to screw around with transforms and shit like that. So I just had to create a panel here. I'll just quickly demonstrate it. So as you see, I can't put my panel higher, so the tube is already too high here. Just gonna try to show that. So you create kind of like a panel where the cars spawn, and then they have to drop in here. So you have to make some barriers and shit that they can't drop next to the tube, because then it will just fall on the floor and win the whole thing. So that was important, that I locked everything up, that nobody could cheat on the outside, and that everybody literally has to go through the whole tube to the bottom. So once I did that, you know, I have my, I'm not gonna be able to, yeah, I'm gonna quickly give the example anyway. So delete all checkpoints. So I needed the start of the race to be in the sky, and that's already a tricky thing. There's some tricks for that. You can put it on 2 and just place it there. You want 30 people. You can put it on a small grid. Why is that not working? Oh yeah, I already have that grid, I think. What was my point? So you want them to drop straight into the tube here. The trick that I had to use is it's just a template trick. I think I mentioned that before. Shit. So you create a template, 2 props, and then you can place it anywhere you want. So the intention is that you place a template and erase it afterwards. So here my checkpoint is placed on a prop and another prop. This prop is used to make a template with this prop. But this prop is still just a prop. It's part of a template that I made and placed here. So this prop is part of the template. This prop not. This prop is a prop that I placed originally. I made a template of these 2, and that was this. The difference is that this prop is considered as a template prop, and this prop is considered as a prop standing on its own. Now the difference is, if I erase this prop, the checkpoint shouldn't be there. That's weird. Did I place it? No, I didn't place a template. Let's try that again. So place the checkpoint. Now erase the prop. What? That Rockstar made it possible, so you don't have to use a template. Because the checkpoint used to disappear when your prop was just a prop and not a template prop. This is the starting checkpoint, so yeah, it does work. Erase the prop. Now it erases both, you see? So it was maybe only because it was 2. So then we can go back to the point I was making. So I place a template now, then put my checkpoint on it. Now I go to props, templates, and right on the bottom of the screen you see your legend. You see delete template, press Y. So I have to be on one of the 2 or one of the objects part of the template. Then I just press Y and the template disappears and the checkpoint stays there. And that was the trick I needed to get cars hovering over a tube so that they would fall in without having a barrier in between. Now, that was no problem because I made a race that was open to all vehicles, so it was not a transform race. So you could take all different classes of vehicles and just use them to do the kerplunk job. Now, with the transform point, weirdly enough, I have a Ripley here, which is a transform vehicle, which actually cannot be used in the checkpoints. See in the bottom here, on the bottom of the thing, it says transform races need at least one section using the default vehicle. And the default vehicle is what you have here. And that's a drugger. So if you place your star grid, it should be the drugger. Because I erased all the other... Is there still a start on... Ah, there's still a start on the bottom. This is not the star grid. That's still the star grid. Why is it showing the Ripley then? That's a little glitch I found out the other time too, but it's kind of annoying if you don't need it. So I want it to be a drugger actually now. Ah, it says here starting. I keep forgetting that. That's a new option they added here, the starting vehicle. That's why I was struggling the other day. I was like, why is it doing this? And they just added this. But it doesn't hop to the original vehicle like it normally did. It's a good option, but they should have made it like pop back to the stock vehicle. So now I have the... What the fuck is this? Default, that's it. Okay. So now I have my default star grid. So I wanted different vehicles like the dump truck to go through the thing, like dump truck, Chernobyl, all the big ones, you know, bulldozer, very heavy, Batmobiles, all crazy shit like that. Deluxo still coming, helicopters still coming, all of that. So instead of just dropping the vehicles in, I needed an in-between station here for the transform checkpoint to be placed. So this is a weird thing. Oh yeah, it's so big because it's in the air, that's fine. So I had to create an in-between station here where I could place a checkpoint. Where I could place a checkpoint so I could put the transform checkpoint in. Now, I think because I want them to make it easier on myself, like I say, you can make a template or use the template that I had and put that here like this. Put the transform checkpoint on there. It's giving issues here. It's maybe because the star grid is too close. So you have to have a minimum distance between all the checkpoints. But this is a regular now. You see, it won't transform into here. That's because the vehicles don't spawn there. So that's why I also... That's why I opted for a small grid. Just gonna show that quickly. If it's just for the signs, it's easier to take sub motorbikes instead of cycles, because the tests you will do, you can do with a motorized vehicle instead of with a bike. So what I was going at is this. Now I can make it a small grid, but the small grids have changed too, because they're bigger than they used to be. There's a stun grid layout. Here we go. So you got a lot more people here, so see how small it actually is. So by using a small star grid, the circumference of the grid would be smaller and would fit better over the diameter of the tube that it would drop into. Because if I use a bigger star grid, like a larger one would be like gigantic, then a lot of cars would just drop next to the tube. But what also is happening is that if you have a small star grid, your secondary checkpoint will be the vehicles will be placed together a lot closer. If you see the bikes, they're really close to each other. They almost fit on one square of the panel here, while the off-road what was it, vehicle that we had, it was a lot bigger. So you had a truck here, and then a truck behind it. So the respawning location of all three vehicles was a lot more spread out than it is with the bikes here. Now, this may not make sense yet, but if you finish your creation and you have the whole thing set up, then you can still change the bicycle vehicle to any other vehicle. And that is the little trick with a small starting grid checkpoint. So you can use the size of the small star grid to fit into your creation if you need a smaller grid. So you can actually finish it off instead of having like a bigger grid with the correct vehicles that you already selected, and then you find out that the grid doesn't fit in your job like it would here, like all the cars would spawn around the whole thing. Now, before I go further into the transform itself, I'll quickly explain the glitching thing here. So I made it a small star grid to follow up with the transform point here. Is it a transform? I'm gonna quickly make it a transform. So you can see I placed my Ripley and they're all... Oh, are you kidding me? I just had the controller glitch. And that sucks because I can't save it now. Fuck. Damn it. And I didn't save any of that star grid. I'll see how bad it is. Now I can't immediately show you the setup for the star grid. But yeah, that star grid is it's a really important trick or tip that you can use, because even if you make a normal traffic race or a street race on the normal map, there's like zero to nil locations where you can actually place a larger grid than a small grid. And because yeah, the streets are just not wide enough to place a large grid, you know, or a medium grid in many locations, leave alone a larger one. I think the only location on the map where you can place large star grids is like the beach or the airport or yeah, some open areas like that. So the trick I was gonna explain is transforming your small grid into a bigger grid without the game actually acknowledge it, the grid to be bigger. So that means that the cars will be spawned in a small grid setup while they're actually not allowed to. Because if you change your star grid to a small grid, it will automatically lock your vehicle classes to bikes, bicycles, and carts only, because those are small enough to fit in the spawn points. And that's what the whole trick is about. So did I save it? I don't even know how I call it. But I can show that anywhere actually. I don't even know what that is, pump. See on the map. Ooh, that looks interesting. Oh, it's the pumpkin. Didn't finish it. Again, template technique to get it perfectly geometric here. Lovely. What you can do, you can make a race inside the pumpkin, right? Probably what I was going for. Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Okay, so I was talking about the star grid. So a little quick tip in between here. If you want to place a star grid, it says cannot place here, must be placed closer to the trigger. Okay, you place a trigger, put it right here, place a checkpoint, understand. Okay, that's cool, but if you're above the sea, and you place a star grid there, it's not far enough. Okay, where are you gonna put your trigger? So you can put your trigger on the shores. But if your prop is too far removed from the shore, you cannot place your checkpoint, so I can place it here, but I want it here. So the little trick is, you go into a vehicle. Has to be a car or something like that. Okay, I don't think it works with the bikes and shit. So you pull your right joystick, which is the camera, you leave it straight in the axle of the truck or the vehicle, and you go all the way down. So you push your joystick all the way up, and the camera goes down on the floor in the back. Now I go into menu, creator, placement, place trigger, and it will pop it right where I am now. you see on the map. And do it again. See, placed it right there. So now where is the trigger? It's right here. Always works. Trigger's not there anymore. It's up here now. So now I can place the star grid right where I want it. I gotta pee right back. Oh yeah. That sucks, I have to save this now. Okay, so I know how to place the star grid in the air. Why can't I change the grid? Uh-huh. So the stunt. The stunt grid is always larger, more widely spread than the non one. You see they're a lot closer. And that's the one you want if you want, like for tiny areas, tiny spaces. So it fits a lot shorter now. It does mean that all the vehicles that you want to spawn in, like a dune, a dump, or dump is a transform, that's not possible. Like a dune is one of the bigger ones. That they will spawn in the exact same locations as the bikes. but because they're bigger, the dunes will all be touching each other. If not, like, be inside of each other, and it will create like a massive explosion at the start. They did manage to just fit them next to each other. Okay, so now I'm gonna save the job. And I have my small star grid. And as you see, the classes are limited now. So I'll save this. Now exit. Load it back up. And now, the first thing we do is go to start menu and put small or medium or large in, large or medium. If you put medium, you can get all the vehicles except the vans. If you take large, you can go also for the vans. So now I can just select whatever I want. I can also deselect the smaller ones and just select one vehicle. I select surfer, and if I exit here, it will transform into the surfer right away. Now the trouble is, your job has to almost be finished, and then you have to do the glitch with the star grid. Because when you do it first, and you will do some more creations and some more placement with props and shit, the star grid will just reset to a normal grid. And then when you will be fucked, and you have to do it all again. So leave that for the last one. It's already an advanced grid, so should already know when to use it. Again, for a good job, it's not important just how to get things done. We were going through the transform list. This is not a transform race, so I'll change it to transform. Doesn't matter. Or does it? Oh no, the props doesn't disappear there. I thought the tubes might disappear for a second. Transform vehicle list. So, yeah, it's a great source for inspiration. You know, you can do a lot with the planes. You can imagine anything you want, actually. You can make a military race with only military vehicles. It's all up to your creativity, of course. Okay. That's actually it about the races, I think. Again, it's the choices that you make that will make it. I bet that will make it the original creation that you wanted it to be. And the more decisions and different concepts you're gonna add, the more cluttier it becomes. And the other way around, the cleaner you can make it, the cleaner your concept will be. And you can make crossover concepts between two different concepts, but then that concept needs to be clean, so your crossover needs to be exactly perfect. A 50-50 balance between two concepts. So what else you can create? You can create death matches. Like I said earlier, there's bazillions of death matches out there because they're so easy to create. Again, you just go in there, dive in there, Select the amount of players you want. You can take a look into the whole thing. Do you want 4 teams of 2 or shit like that? Wanted level, that's interesting. So you can work with a wanted level for different groups. There's where your cops and crooks jobs originate. So one team would be a crook and one team would be a cop. So your wanted level you can put on one team and the other teams can be cops too. Or you can put them all on wanted and let them all be wanted. You got a force weapon here, which is also very interesting. Now, again, to prevent cluttering, it's better to use one specific weapon as contrary to a lot of different weapons. There's a lot of death matches where like people can just pick up axes and baseball bats and guns and shit, and then it just gets cluttered up, and you don't know what to expect, what you get killed with, which can be fun, of course, too, if it's well executed. But if you put 10 baseball bats here and you put 10 people here and you let them fight baseball bat fights at a tennis court, that's a hilarious job. Boom, done. You can do that for every weapon. Now, if you select one weapon and you make a deathmatch with it, you can later copy that job and change the weapon. And then you have a different job and a different concept. It's the same concept, but it's a different weapon. So you have 2 creations instead of 1. So if you would place the same 2 weapons in one deathmatch, that would be a totally different deathmatch. So separating the 2 weapons creates 2 different jobs, and the concepts will be cleaner because it's only select to 1 different weapon. And that's how you create the funny side of it. There's some funny vehicles in there. EMP launcher could be funny. Of course, your melee weapons. They should add the electric thing. Electric stun. Oh, here it is. I gotta make one with that. So you just put your stun gun up for every team. You got an electric stun gun fight. Whew, sneezing. So okay, let's say you go for a stun gun fight. You can do teams, but the most interesting would be, of course, singular free for all. If team deathmatch and free for all. Free for all is everyone for himself. So yes, let's say you want to make that. What's the next important thing that you do is that you keep your area close. What is this? Huh? Default play area. I didn't know there was numbers. Oh, they added a timer. What? Oh, you have to do it like that now. And that's how long it's been since I created that match. So, if I make it this long, and I put all my spawn points along the way, and people just have to run around with stun guns, it's going to be very uninteresting because you have to run around a long time before you meet someone else. Because the game will spawn the players as far as possible from each other. Now, I don't know how I can edit it manually. That's interesting. Oh. Weird. Okay, by having a smaller area, of course, it would be a lot more interesting as people are propped up on top of each other, and then your stun go fight will be constant. So your area will depends upon your weapon choice. Because if you go for RPG, for example, and you put all players in this little square, it's gonna be too easy. It's gonna be mayhem. It's gonna be too much of the good thing. So you have constant explosions. I have an example. I have like a king of the hill where people have to just get to the middle of the hill, which is just a little circle, and they all spawn in tanks. So what happens is they all start shooting, and the whole thing becomes a massive explosion constantly, which in one sense is kind of funny too. But it's too much of the good thing, so a little spread out would be better then. So for RPGs, for example, you have to have a lot bigger area because the range of the weapon is a lot bigger. Like if you want a fist fight, you even want as little as you can get. So it's the choices you make are very important. So once you realize that the area has to fit the weapon, you can use that by just creating several other jobs that have different areas and sizes with different weapons. Where was I in? There was that. Hand conditioning. That's interesting. So you get all sorts of conditions that the game has to end on. Again, that's not that's they added that since I made it that match. No, it's things like this in the menu that can give you an idea on its own. So just browsing it, and then you think like, oh, if I give this team that and this team that, then they have to do this and they have to do that, and then it finishes. So that could be a concept on its own. 10 minutes is pretty long. 5 minutes always better for a funny job. Especially if you have 10 minutes of just shooting at each other, it's gonna be really boring. So the shorter you keep it, the better it is, and the more often you can play it, because it doesn't get boring that quickly. Because 10 minutes quickly gets boring if it's not. The variety of the activity is not like broad enough. What is that modifier? What the hell is that? Applied on spawns. Modifier. Ooh. Oh, you can put points on the kills. Specific kill types. Huh. Oh, if it's headshot. Oh, that's interesting. So if you give him a headshot, you get less points. Or more points. So if you would make a match, where's the normal kills? There are no normal kills. Oh, here it is. Enemy kill score. So melee is you cannot if you cannot melee kill, then you get minus points. So you can make a match where you have to shoot them in the head, and then they get the points, otherwise they get minus. Which means if you panic, then you just shoot them in the body, you get minus points. So you can just get ideas like that. Weapon, group weapon. Interesting. So you get minus points if you kill someone from your own team. That score controls how many points will be awarded when a player is killed by another player. Specific weapon, Jesus. Suicide. Oh, you can switch that off? Oh, that's great for like the jobs where you drop out of the sky. Must implement that on the circle of death. When you go out of bounds, you get minus points. Nice. So you can just base a job specifically on getting outside of the bounds, which is kind of like a king of the hill, but not really, because like need to be big enough. I don't know how many players you can let spawn on a small area like that, but suppose that is the area. If you can use like a space weapon, you could shoot people out of the area. Then if they get out of the area, they get minus points. So instead of a king of the hill, it's a king of the out of the hill, actually. So instead of trying to get in the hill, you're trying to get players out of it. It's just a concept on its own, yeah. You can also get your ideas from the weather. You can check out the weather. Foggy. What can I do in foggy circumstances? If you want to see the time immediately, you can just go to specific and you can just change it. You can see it changing. Oh, this I had to use. So you go to the early here, clearly see it. I don't know if it does the timer here. No. If you want to add the rain, you have to go into test mode and you will get the thunder. So let's say we get thunder. What's gonna happen? You get wild seas, so you can make a boat race in thunder. That will be your idea that came from looking at the weather settings. And you can use specific boats that have trouble getting over waves and shit like that. Lock shops. That is funny. So the idea I get from that is that you can make, for example, you make a death match right where the armor store is. So you can close and open the shop. So you can make a job, limited, panel it off, let the players only play on the lot here. And you give them no weapons, but they have to buy it inside the store. And then you can copy it and close the store down and make it a fist fight. Just let them walk around on the stairs and shit. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure about the spawn points because that's always been like a little problem. How far do they have to been put from each other? And I think it's still about the same. So that's the problem with the deathmatch thing. Because, for example, if I want to limit it off, let's just say, let's get that weird movement glitch again. Like I said, just log that parking lot off. Let's say it's just closed like that. And you want to play here. The problem is you're gonna place your start points, and pretty soon you. Huh? Oh, that's team start points I'm placing. Because you can mix those. They can be closer to the normal checkpoints. You see now I'm already getting filled up here. And I'm not getting the spawn points needed on the right bottom of the screen. It says 40 for 30 players, so I'm never getting 40 spawn points in this location, so I either have to bring the player count down. I don't know how much it will change the spawn points. Now it's needed 26, which is still a lot. So if you go down the player count, then you end up with nothing. So that's the problem with the deathmatch. Is you have to get a big enough location to get your spawn points in. And it's knowing things like that in advance that gives you the advantage, of course, of knowing what is possible and what isn't. Which is the reason to begin with, to actually get busy in Creator. If you like making things, if you want to make a job. And then you just have to try things out. Don't expect you're gonna make the most brilliant job ever from the first time. I'm not saying it's not possible, it can happen. But don't expect it, because it will only bring disappointment. You just set a goal, try to meet the goal, and then in the next creation you try to elevate your goal a little bit. And then you get to better and better jobs, and better concepts. So you can get inspired by anything, even by the amount of players. You can say, maybe I just want a job that's 1v1. And you make a 2-player job. Like a duel kind of thing. You give them like a dueling gun. And you just make 2 lanes, or you just make it like a whole western city saloon with a saloon kind of clap door thing. And then the guys have to stand in the middle of the western town and just have to do the dueling, just have 1v1. And it's just an idea that just popped up by looking at the amount of players. You can have already looked at that. You can get inspired by your rounds. Lock options. You can give one team like snipers, and then the other team like melee weapons, so they have to get close to the other ones. The other ones have the advantage of being able to shoot them down once they get on the way to get closer. It creates contrast between teams. Contrast always good. Combat settings also important. If you want to force the weapon. And railguns could be pretty cool too. You can let people wear their helmets, and then you can only put the kills on headshots, and then they only have the face to aim at. So if they hit the side of the face, it will bounce off the helmet and they won't die. It's little details like that. interesting. You can keep the snacks out of the death matches. You make a job that is specifically aimed at how you spawn people behind each other. And then if you hit the one in front of you from your own team, you get minus one. So you leave friendly fire on. So it's just ideas pop up when you look at the possibilities of the menu and the creator itself. I think I have to do a new tutorial for this because there's so many options added in this deathmatch creator. Of course, your first person will also be funny. You can make like a first person kind of thing that you have like a one direction thing where you can only look forward. If you want to look backward, you have to turn around, so you have to make a very narrow path in the panels. You can not move left or right, only forward and backwards. Put the spawn points all in one line, and have to just shoot straight back. There's a lot of options here. Try to quickly move through. Last team standing is kind of the same as a deathmatch, it's only in teams, and the advantage is you don't get respawns, so if you want like a fight to the death, then last team standing is kind of the mode to go with. Because if you die in that, you will not respawn. You will just have to wait till the round is over. I use that. There's different styles you can use. Because I want to say like a vehicle destruction derby deathmatch. So I have destruction derbies that have respawns, and they just respawn without a car, but you can also make them respawn with a car now, I think. I don't know. And you have the last team standing deathmatches where you have two teams trying to destruct the cars of the other team. Then when someone dies, it's over. They have to watch their team perform to see who wins. So it's a different setup. It's the same concept, but it's a different mode that is created in. It has different results in the actual how you experience the job. Of course, the King of the Hill. Very, very interesting mode to create in. Of course, the arena is just in the arena. We're gonna keep it here general. There's a lot of things you can do with this. You can make it a whole map thing. You can make it like just located in like a little tiny 10-foot square. And the advantage opposed to a deathmatch is that your spawn points are still as far from each other as they were in a deathmatch. But the location you can adjust yourself. So if I place the hill, which is the location that the players have to be in to get the points, then everybody has to get there. Why is it so big now? It's the yellow thing. That's your area that they have to be in. You can make it bigger. See, it's just a round circle. So your spawn points can be like anywhere here. I hate the yellow filter though. Of course, you want to keep them as close to the middle as possible. I'm just pointing out that the difference between the deathmatch. Now, a good system to keep your spawn points as close to it as possible is just using geometry. You just look at where the spawn points, the closest location they have with each other. See, so this is the closest they can be to each other. So put the hill in the middle of that. And now I can create the other ones. Oh. That's wide. Probably put that a little wider. So create a square here. A little weird square. So now I just keep going in the same pattern, but I tilt the square so it'll go in the middle of those two. And it first pops up, I just create place the next spawn point. So in this way I will keep all the spawn points as close to each other as possible, and without like irregular placement where you have more space between some than others. So I just keep using the same pattern. I'm using the middle of those two now, and then you do that for the whole star, which it eventually becomes. Just fill out the gaps here. There's only still needs to be one here. Also important that you point the pointer towards the location that you want them to look at. Because if you point like someone here, and you point him here, and you put him there, he's not gonna see what's happening behind him, so he's got like, what the fuck am I supposed to do, you know? So it can be important in specific situations. So in this way you always stay the closest to the location they want them to be in. And you can use different hills. I hate the yellow shit. Of course you have to just box. The box has the I think it's smaller than the circle. See? So the circle at its smallest is bigger than the oh, you can go smaller. Oh no, that's capture time. So as you can see, if you want the smallest one, you gotta go for the squared one. So if you want a bunch of people to run to one location, it's better to use this, because if you use this, as you can see, there's like a 7 to 8, 9 people can fit on this little surface here. Here it's only like 2, maybe 3. And if you're fighting, maybe only 1. Yeah. So you gotta keep it as small as possible if you want the people to. Not because the bigger you make it, like if people spawn in a vehicle, then you can make it a little bigger so that only the vehicle fits in the thing, and if someone else with the same vehicle comes, he will have to fight for that spot. But if you make it larger, and you get, even if it's vehicle or on foot, and get a lot of players in it, nobody will score as long as there's more than one player in your hill. So you can put 10 minutes on it. If there's 9 people in this circle for 10 minutes, nobody will get any points. And that's the most important thing you gotta take into account if you create a king of the hill, that you avoid having a lot of players in the hill, so the scoring happens quicker. So if you're in this little square and you're just standing here, somebody comes here, he knocks you in the fucking head, and he can stand here. Then it becomes funny. If you do it here and there's like 4 people and one gets hit out, then there's still 2 people in. So you need to knock out 3 people, which is almost impossible, and then you get like just a useless fist fight where nobody scores. Customized place area, that is the area around your activity thing. So you see the yellow circle. Is it at biggest? Manual. So you can make it bigger, smaller. So if you just use that little square thing and you don't want people to run away, you just want them to participate, you make the play area a little smaller like that. Boom. Of course I would do it centered, the same as the circle is, so I would probably put that little hill in the middle of the yellow circle, so the distance is the same everywhere. Now people cannot run away and just do something else. You have to stick in the action area, which is also important if you work with kills and stuff like that. And there were some other options here, and that is the vehicle hills and the object hills, which of course lead to totally different concepts. Like if you take a vehicle hill, maximum number of hills. So let's pick a vehicle, and you take something very slow like a lawnmower. You can put 250 health on it, then it goes long, or if you want it to break down quickly, you just put a lower. Tires, you can choose that, doesn't really matter. So now my hill is vehicle. And people have to get the vehicle and then drive off with it. So it's a totally different concept than the hill where they're fighting for to be in one spot, which can be anywhere, on top of Mount Chiliad, on top of a prop that you placed, on top of this shark right here. You can make a surfboard in the ocean and make the spot right there, and that people have to get on the surfboard and they get knocked off, then they lose the hill. It's just an idea that I got from the surfboard here, so you see creativity is everywhere. So you get your lawnmower hill, which is one of my jobs. And the slower the vehicle, the better, because the players that you spawn around it can just run up to it and just steal it and throw the other one, the driver, off. Of course, it goes for everyone, so the more players you have, the more chaos, because everybody keeps pulling the driver off the lawnmower, and you have 40 people at once trying to sit on it. So that will create a problem on its own. So if I would do that in an empty location, like on a panel above the sea in the middle of fucking nowhere, then it would be boring as crap, because everybody would just uselessly be fist fighting. So what I did with that particular job is I placed my lawnmower, I think it was over there somewhere, but I placed it on the highway. So what happens is if you place your lawnmower here on the highway, go for it, and you make some spawn points here around it, you know, people have to run towards it, they get the lawnmower, and they got the hill. And you have a few people trying to pull them off, but like if there's like 26 people participating, there's some people that say like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna take a car, I'm gonna ran all these people off the fucking thing, and then I can take the lawnmower myself. And that's exactly what happens, you know. So with adding the traffic, with placing the location of the vehicle in the traffic, you add the environment and the actual traffic for the players to be used to conquer the actual vehicle, the actual hill. So you create a totally different concept than actually the hill was for. And this works for slow vehicles, bikes, all of that, but of course it doesn't work if you make the vehicle hill a jet, for example. You know, if you make it a jet, which I think is possible. No, no jets. There we go. Oh, I can even color it nice. So my vehicle is my hill is a jet. Put it all spawn points around. Game starts, someone runs out of it, gets in, takes off, boom, game over. He gets all the points. Now, I'm not saying that would be bad, because it would be funny. As long as your spawn points are all perfectly symmetrically equal distance to the plane. And then it's just a sprint. It's just a sprint. So it's just who gets to the plane first. Whoever gets to get all the points. Then you still have to fill the rest of the 5 minutes, and nobody can do anything. So you have to add some bazookas or RPGs. You have to limit the area around it so the plane can only fly in a little circle, maybe. And then you can add like guns, so people can just use handguns or something to shoot the pilot. And you can only fly in the radius that the guns can reach. So then you have to adjust your action radius here. Because if the plane can go anywhere, then yeah, it's game over. So you can put a crazy thing in like that and then adjust your area and just make it work. So that's the cool thing about the King of the Hill mode. And what was I looking at? The vehicles. So you can get all the funny shit in there. You can make it like a custom downhill or something that they have to jump off, and if they hit the floor they die, and then the vehicle respawns back up, and then the people that are still up there can take the vehicle. And like this, it's just a sprint race, so if you just make a sprint race, the 11-minute race, you might as well do this. You make a hill, you put it up here, you put all the spawn points here on one line, and then you should make your hill. Why is it placing it on top? Oh, it should be box here, okay. You can even put it in the air. I have a few jobs like that. So you make it as wide as the beach. Height. And then you put players on spawn points on one line here, and you get yourself a marathon thing. You have to cross the line here, or win the running race. So you actually create a race in the King of the Hill. But that would not work, then you would have to make it 5 minutes long. I had another concept, I'm not gonna talk about that now. So you can do any vehicle hell. Of course, then you have still the object hills, and you can make it a few things, which is just aesthetics. The flag I got used in my flag jobs, so people just have to pick it up. I can put it on top of my Chilia, and let players spawn on the beach, and then they have to find a vehicle and get to Mount Chilia. So it's kind of capture the flag kind of thing. You can put it on a building, and then you can hide some planes or choppers somewhere, and then you can put some clues in that people have to find it. There's a lot of options. You can put your circle hills on top of a building and just put so if you want, say I want the location to be right here. Of course, the box hill will be smaller, like I said. Just for an example, yeah. Say like I want the area to be here. How the people gonna get there? Okay, you're gonna have to let them either get in with choppers spawning on the floor, or you're just gonna place some things in the air, some props in the air, and let them spawn on that. Doesn't matter which panel that is, so you can always try to keep it like honest, equal to every player. Like keep the spawn points the same amount of distance removed from the location you should be at, so if the spawning is equally honest for everyone. So you can spawn players on foot here, let them skydive off. You can put the parachutes down, and they skydive off to the roof, and then they can fight for the hill here. It's still gonna be boring because it's still a fist fight. So you're always gonna have to find that little extra creative input that makes that job like unique, contrary to other jobs. Like always avoid just a normal fist fight or a normal just shooting fight where everybody's just shooting or fighting each other in the same style the whole time, because that gets boring really quickly. You can use weather, you can use elevation, you can use a lot of different things to put some more dynamics into the job. Like if I would just pick something crazy here, you know, if I put this on here, to make it something like this, and you know, now people have to fight to get on that one sweet spot where they hit that little box, which is the hill. That's where I based a few jobs on. I have like a jump, and then the hill is right here where the point is where they can't stay. They just drop down again. So you get everyone trying to get to that line, and they can't stay there, so they drop down again. And then you have like 30 people trying to get that little point. Yeah, it's hilarious shit. So the placement of your hill can be also the funny factor. Yeah. You can place it just like here on the balconies or something. I don't. Probably not. Apparently not. You could put it on a pool. There's all sorts of different options, and it's one of the most fun things to explore and create in, and also one of the most hilarious jobs to play. You can make it team oriented. Okay, let's go exit that. Survival, that's not my thing. It's just you have attackers. shoot you. And you just have to try to not get hit, I guess. It's kind of a little bit of what I was wanting to show or to explain. And so it's the more you do it, the easier it becomes, of course, and the more options. Like you see in the deathmatch, I didn't have all the or all the most recent awareness of what the possibilities were and what the options were. So they added a lot of new things, especially that stun gun. I want to make a job with that. That's gonna be a job pretty soon. But you just it's important to be inspired and to be. You can get inspired, but to have the urge to want to make something, and that's one of the most important things. So if you want to make something, you automatically go look for ways to do it, and then if you discover ways that you haven't held for possible, then you can even expand your options there. So then you just broaden your vision and your opportunities and your options. So I wish every creator good luck with that process. Just gonna maybe browse through my saved jobs a little bit so you get a little insight of things that I still haven't published yet. Cause how many things did I publish? It's thousands. There's still like a few hundred like laying in the desk drawer, waiting to get executed. You can see the dates. There's some very old jobs. There's some more recent creations. Most of these are races, I think. Train tracks. That's probably something on the train tracks. Yeah, I was just following the train tracks. I just used funny vehicles on it. What is that? Oh, I forgot about that one. Ooh. Can't reveal too much of that. So you see the pictures don't always pop up. Often because I don't make one yet. But, this is one that's off that should be finished, and I just can't publish it because oh yeah, I could fix it with the team thing. To dive into that. So it's a King of the Hill 2, and you see there's a windmill involved, so yeah, put 1 and 2 together. Stadium, that's probably a race. Cadwell, that's a replica. GPS, street track for open wheel, GPS. Training shot, that was from the Rocket League series where you have to do a penalty series. That's a template for a lot of different styles of racing. I still have to work that out. Something at the harbor, that's Ulton Park, that's a replica here. Replica of a real racing circuit from real life. Oh, Roval. Escape room, that was something new that I was working on. The Flower of Life, that's just art. It's just art. Just open that for a second. And art can be beautiful. You can just create anything. Was it here? No. It's over here. Secret. There you see the shadow. Oh. Still not finished. Perfect placement. It doesn't always have to be a job. You can just have fun with some art. I actually made an art piece, Mondeller, it's called. I'm not gonna call it up now because then I ruin the order here. Slide Hill, that's a copy of the Drift Hill. An Octagon, I was working on that. That's a copy of Blue Balls. Oh, that's a secret. And those are all secrets too. That's a copy. That was the start of a rally. Rally stages are pretty easy and you don't have to use too many props. Night Creation, which is probably with neon props. BMX Park, haven't worked on that in a long while. Something with dump trucks, always funny. Apocalypse, Crazy, Demolition Derby, it's all Titan, that's probably, is it with the plane? Rockets. See 2018, some are really old. Copy Eiffel Tower, NASCAR, Hooters. I think I was making a replica of the Hooters bar, but then enlarged. Gumball, was working on that. Something with horses. Could be, I'm not gonna say more about that. Not give away everything. 24-hour ring. Some 8-track up. Oh, of the foot 8-track. No, can't release that yet. It's on the verge of being published. Specified vehicle, Bodifari. Crazy crack around. That was supposed to be funny. 2019. Ooh, that, don't give that away. Dump Mountain. Some copies from older jobs. Hammerhead, great funny concept. Mazes. Can make mazes as much as you want. Those are still part of the rally I was gonna produce 2016. 7 years ago. Steal cars, that was a capture. You have to just find the cars and steal them, bring them somewhere. That's been a passe game mode that it had potential, but a bit too intricate maybe. Tube series. It's good. As you see, it's mostly copies that I wanted to transform into something like a particular vehicle races on. Okay, so you get all of your insights from me. I hope it helps, and I wish you good luck with the creating process. Thanks for watching.